I'm going to jump right into it because we have a lot to cover, but it's going to be even more fun if you ask me questions. So don't hesitate if something doesn't feel right or if you have a question about something, go ahead and stop me because chances are somebody else wants to talk about it too. Thanks, Sam. All right, I'm going to get started with the scary stuff. And we talk about this all the time. Craft is in a weird spot. Morning.
Morning.
Be sure to sit someplace with a keg collar. All right, good, perfect. Craft is in a weird spot, but when you get people like us together, we have hope. We have hope for craft because there's an opportunity for craft to win. We just have to take advantage of that opportunity. What we're going to talk about today are some marketing best practices to do exactly that. So, as you've seen, the most recent December over December numbers, not the best, with a few pockets of hope. We all talk about the non-alcoholic, we talk about RTDs and ciders and such, and pockets of craft beer. The challenge is, how do you as brewery owners and managers respond to what's happening in the market right now? You might take a look at some different beverages. Are you going to get into a seltzer? Are you going to get into a cider? Do you have the opportunity for a distillate? Is there co-packing opportunities? We've seen a lot of consolidation here in Denver. Businesses that are actually brewing up because of co-packing opportunities and kind of consolidation from an operational perspective. Shrinking your footprint. Good morning. Hello. Make sure you've got a keg collar and your seat so you don't have to take notes. Shrinking the distribution footprint. Hello. This is a real challenge for us. You may want to grow, but strategically speaking, it might be a little better to kind of pace yourself and start a little smaller. Closures and consolidations, and then workforce reductions. But something that we see is, well, maybe I don't need to market. Maybe I just need to run my social media like I have been. Maybe that's going to bring people in the door. Maybe that's going to drive traffic and sales. I'm going to suggest to you that this is not the right option to take. We need to market during times like this. That doesn't mean spend necessarily. It just means thoughtfully promote your products. Because in downtimes, that's when you're going to build awareness. Morning. A couple seats here, and make sure you've got a keg collar at your seat so you don't have to take any notes. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is 4 or 5 different areas where you can win with marketing. Very practical things that you can take back even today and implement at your own breweries. We're talking about areas where we can build awareness for your beers. If you've been in the area, if you've been marketing for 5-10 years, you might have a little bit of traction. You still have new audiences that you can go after. If you're new to the block, again, these 4 or 5 different techniques are going to help you scale up your awareness in Denver and elsewhere. Storytelling opportunities, we've talked about this a lot. Craft is kind of in a weird spot, but there's going to be a rebound. Inevitably, it's going to happen. Where are you going to be with respect to this rebound? If you're marketing, you're going to be on the front end of it. If you're innovating, you're going to be on the front end of it. We have to keep pushing ourselves here. You're supporting the loyalists in the community. And again, we believe that it's the most effective survival tactic for this particular moment. What we're going to talk about is shortcuts to make that work for you. Now, Market Your Craft, Scott Colby, we've been working with different breweries, wineries, and distilleries to help this process, help them through storytelling their efforts. Our sweet spot is the storytelling, but also we geek out on the tech side of things. We think that there's a lot of efficiency in digital marketing. I've been in it for 20 years myself. I was an assistant brewer for BJ's, helped them open up their Texas production facility. And I'm also a home brewer, just like all of us probably started. And then I'm a part owner in a brewery in Iowa. So I feel the same struggles and challenges that you folks feel right now? It's personal to me. We've worked with a lot of different brands, but more than the list of logos is the stories that each one of these uniquely tells, whether it's Sierra Nevada or Common House in North Carolina. We've got someplace else, Maker's Mark, Iconic. Each one of these has a different story. What is the story that you want to tell your drinkers? How do you want to differentiate yourself from the neighbor down the street? This is what we're talking about. I also work with an agency on the PR side of things, and I would just encourage you not to think about necessarily journalists and publications and such, but getting your story out there to media who want to talk about you. This is free. Have you ever put together a press release about the new beer that you released, the new location you just opened up in Lakewood? When you put the press out there, journalists will talk about you and you will get additional eyes on your brewery. It's free to do, it takes time, and I know we none of us have time, but keep PR in mind. What is the big question that people ask me, and maybe you would want to ask me the same? The question is, what platform, what one platform can I use to solve it all, solve all my problems? Is there a point of sale system like the ones that we've listed right here that get it done for you? And the answer is no. There is no one platform that is going to help you get out of the challenge that we are in right now. It's this: people, process, and partners and platforms that help us get this done. You have to have the right people, you have to give them the right training, and then you might have to ask for outside help, because now is not the time to have pride and think that I can do it all myself. Sometimes you have to ask for help from an outside folk, like Julie in the back, good friend of mine. Services that exist to help brewers win. Which is why we came up with one simple blueprint to do that, and that's what's on the keg collar. It's talking about website, getting your website right. Email still works. Figure it out. Sharpening your social media activity. We don't need to just kind of post and pray anymore. We can be more strategic about it. Activating drinkers with a mobile app. This is new. A lot of folks, you may have even evaluated a mobile app. You might have a mobile app extension to your point of sale system. These are real opportunities to get in front of drinkers, and with the mobile app, you have that direct communication to them. Let's talk more about that. And then AI is a part of all of our lives. It's also a part of our individual businesses. So let's talk about how to use it right. How are we doing pace-wise? Let me know if you have questions. Organic search matters. I'm not going to do a marketing 101 class on why we need to get websites right. You all know that you need a website. You want to grab a seat? You good? Okay. There are a lot of breweries out there, and your digital presence is going to help introduce you to somebody new. Think about how you yourself are searching for things nowadays, brewery or not brewery related. What is the restaurant near me? What is the event that's happening this weekend? We are kind of looking for immediacy. We're looking for shortcuts ourselves personally. Our drinkers are no different. So you have to be very visible, not only in kind of the web world, but on the social side of things. And so you need to design your website for search. It needs to be packed with keywords. It needs to have your events on there. It needs to have your draft beer list. It needs to talk about what makes you different. Let's talk about the people, the staff, and the tasting room. This is the content that Google and the other search engines are picking up in order to put you forward in front of a new drinker who's searching for you. One thing to just remember, and we can talk about different ways to do this, is it's feeding AI right now. And like it or not, we could have disagreements, or we could all agree in kumbaya on what AI is going to do for us. But at the same time, where AI gets its information is from the web and the web has indexed your brewery with a certain number of keywords, and the strength of those keywords and the conversations happening outside of that are what give you higher priority in AI search results. We like, again, the Common Ask example. From a website perspective, what they've done is they've used a tool called SEMrush to figure out where their website lands amongst all the other competitors in their space. And they design their content and they design their website in order to increase their presence. Again, search engine optimization, you folks get it. But have you heard the term Google Zero? You may or may not, and we're not going to geek out on this, but if you search today, how many people have opted into AI search results? And what that, exactly, right? And what that does is, instead of the 10,000 links that happen, and you're one of 10,000, they've got a summary at the top of that page that says, oh, based on your query, Old 121 in Lakewood is the brewery closest to you that offers this draft list and this event list. Would you like to know more? So Google Zero is how many people are going to avoid the links in the search engine results, and they're just going to go with what the summary told them. This is real, folks. Okay, so I'll get down from the pulpit on this one. AI uses what it finds on search engine indexing, if we're doing it right, people talking about you in social, what they find on Yelp and such, to prioritize you at the top of that list, and it's going to summarize you in the 1 to 5 results. Okay.
Sorry, you're saying you need to opt in to be part of that AI summary at the top?
No, good question. The question was, do you have to opt in to be part of that summary? No, you don't have to be. What you're doing is you're positioning all of your content so that Google, Gemini, or ChatGPT actually finds you. There's no one algorithm yet, or no one formula that says, well, if I do 1, 2, 3, I'm going to be at the top of that list. What we've done in the past is we've boosted our listings with marketing dollars. Now that doesn't matter as much. You're starting to see in ChatGPT a little bit of advertising and sponsorship, but right now the model is the more content, the more relevant content, the stronger your content, the higher your result. Good question. Okay, so again, this is real. I don't mean to be scary or alarmist, but do a Google Gemini search on yourself and see how high you come up, see if you come up in that one summary. Because it's about not search engine optimization anymore, it's about answer engine optimization. And that could be Copilot on the Microsoft side, it could be ChatGPT, it could be any of the Claudes, and if we're talking about any of the answer engines, where do you fit in those search results? And the way to really go about this is, when you're organizing your content, just think about it from a high quality content perspective. Answer the questions before they're asked. If a drinker wants to know if dogs are allowed, or kids, is it kid friendly? Are you able to offer any food, or what do the food trucks look like? Answer the questions on your website before they ask, and search engines as well as answer engines will reward you for that. And then just stay focused. Make sure your site is mobile friendly. This is very, very important because, again, everybody's going to be searching in real time when they are close to your brewery, because I'm done with dinner and I want to have a beer. Where's my next stop? Where legal, the online sales increases the search visibility. If you've got merch, think about if you've got WordPress, or if you've got Shopify or Wix or any of these sites, you can easily sell your merch online. I'm not saying it's easy to fulfill. Most of the breweries are doing a curbside fulfillment or pickup at the tasting room rather than getting into the whole mailing thing. But anything that you're doing with sales, go ahead and put it up online. That's going to increase your visibility. And most of all, just describe who you are and what makes you different, and do that on the homepage. Do that within the first scroll of the homepage, because 9 times out of 10, that's all your visitors are going to see of your website. They're not going to go any deeper. Tell the story on the homepage. Dial it up with plugins. This is just a list for you. We don't need to go through these, but we've come up with a list of best practices for websites, and you probably see a lot of your own plugin usage in there. But if you don't, go ahead and check some of these out. They might help make it easier to tell your story on your website. We like one especially called Multiple Pages Generator. The geeky side of this is if you have 30 beers, if you 10 seasonals and 20 core, whatever your lineup looks like, and you just think, geez, it's difficult to keep all that information online. Well, yeah, your brewery uses a Google Sheet. That Google Sheet can be on your website in an hour, up to date and everything. So think about how I can make my life more efficient. If I'm using a Google Sheet, if I'm using Excel, and I want to have a list online, but I don't want to use Untapped, like, I get all that stuff. Multiple Page Generator pulls the information from Google Sheet as an example and creates single pages for each of your core and seasonal beers that are indexable and beautiful. So again, you get a little bit of the geek in me here. One critical question I have to ask before we get off of this subject is, why should I care about you? I mean, everybody has a brewery, everybody has great beers. Tell me why I should care. As a drinker, I need to know, because my time is limited, my funds are limited. I'm going to go to the brewery that's going to have the best payout for me if I'm trying something new. Tell them why they should care pretty early. Email is alive and well. You can argue that email's a bore to do, or it's difficult to use MailChimp, or whatever your argument. I completely get it. But we all look at our emails. We all see the calls to action. We act on that. Please figure out a way to judiciously use email. Don't discount it. Don't just use social. Find a way to get yourself a free MailChimp account. Start there with a small list, build it, send out one a month to start. Send out when you have an event schedule. Whatever that looks like, just do it, because most of your drinkers who receive this are going to take action on it, more so than they are on social, and we'll talk about that in a hot second. So this, as well as the mobile app, are kind of the direct connection to a drinker's pocket, and we lean heavily into that. So use a best practice like a Klaviyo or a MailChimp or a SendGrid. You've heard these terms. They're not expensive. Some of them even have free accounts that you can start with. Make sure that each one of your emails has a clear call to action. Don't make them too long. I'm a victim. Sometimes I craft a long email that I know half of it doesn't get read, but go ahead and just put up front what you want to tell them, and then give them the call to action. Tell them when to come pick up the beer. Here's the link to the tickets for the event. And then at the very bottom, make sure that it looks friendly on the mobile, because again, they are checking their phone in between meetings or when they're at a kid's soccer game. And be sure that they're delivered, because have you ever gotten one of these? So you look at your inbox, there's all sorts of red flags about an email that you got from a brewery. That just means that they didn't set it up properly. And some of this stuff is a little more technical, but again, with MailChimp or Klaviyo, they make it very easy for you to get it right. So be a user, be a recipient of your own emails as well as a sender.
Do you have any tips for subject line to maximize opens?
Yeah, good question. Subject line recommendations to maximize opens. So keeping it short is key. They like 80 characters or less. If you have something, it doesn't have to be disruptive. It doesn't have to be, fishy. it can just be very clear and straightforward. This is what's happening tonight. Always look at it from a recipient perspective. Why would I act on this? What would make me open it? A lot of times we see happening tonight, limited edition, available to you, available now, launching. Like, use action verbs like this very early in the subject line. And then where possible, if you can personalize, because we all collect names and email addresses, you could say, launching tonight, Scott. And when it becomes personal, then you get at least twice the amount. In the subject line, you can personalize it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. With a tool like MailChimp.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you recommend personalizing the sender from, like, for example, Steven from
Can, yeah, but I don't ever recommend using your own personal business account, because if you get caught in spam, then anything that you're doing aside from the newsletter could get tripped up too.
Like the from name that you would like program into MailChimp.
Yeah, you can. If it's info@brewery.com, you could always say brewery tap room or Steve at, or whatever you'd like.
Okay.
But make sure to use a more generic email than your personal one.
Of course.
Yeah. Good question. Thank you. MailChimp, we talked about it. We're bullish on MailChimp. MailChimp is part of Intuit now with QuickBooks and all of that nonsense. So they're putting a lot of money into this. Again, there's a free account to start. And so if you're not doing one, most of us are. So, but if you're not, give them a look. Klaviyo, same. Klaviyo is a great tool, more technical, and you can do a lot more with it. It also, is a little more expensive that way, but integrates well with Shopify if you folks are using Shopify for your website. So email is not dead. Give it a try. You receive emails all the time. Put a couple of them in a folder, and then take a look at those and see why they stood out to you. And then try and build that same sort of excitement or energy or call to action into the ones for your brewery. So, social. Social is changing, and I don't need to tell you this. Boy, this was weird last week. Did we all get the notifications about not being recommended on the Facebook?
Yes.
And,
They won't get back to you.
And this is very real. Steve, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So Steve says they don't get back to you. I mean, Facebook is notoriously quiet. But a couple things just to think about here. First of all, you probably got the notification. They didn't give you any background. You went to the page, you're like, I didn't post anything that's out of bounds. I didn't post anything that's unlike anything that I've posted in the past. Why on earth would I not be recommended? Well, I think there's a lot going on in the background that we don't know about. Call it political or call it meta, whatever it is. They just did it without telling people. They changed how you designate your age restriction on the page. And this is not just for breweries, wineries, and distilleries, but it's for other kind of sin products as well. You may have always said 21 and over, but most recently they introduced the alcohol related. And so if you haven't already, please go into your page settings and change it to alcohol related, which triggers hopefully an automatic review. But if it doesn't, they have most recently allowed for please review my page. So, I mean, did a lot of people get this? Are we all talking the same language? We had, a brewery that we work with went through this, and we got these nasty messages and whatnot, but what was following up after this, and this only happened this week, is if you're in this kind of a state, they either automatically review you or they give you the button to allow for a review, and then after 3 days, you're recommended again. So there's a way out of this. But the point is, social is changing, and breweries, wineries, and distilleries are going to be victims of those changes. We need to be proactive and try and figure this out before it happens. One thing we need to worry about is, or at least be conscious of, is the fact that not only do we get these kind of nasty grams from Facebook, but how many people are seeing less traffic, less engagement on their socials? Let me paint a scenario for you. You have a part-time bartender who is very good with social, and he or she has the opportunity every day or every week to come up with some really clever posts and, you know, showing people having fun, and bartenders and brewers behind it. All of these are great posts that are getting 0 likes, and you're like, what on earth? I mean, I thought we had it right. We've got somebody dedicated to doing it. They care about it. We're doing it every single day, and we're getting 1 or 2 likes. That is not going to move the needle for your brewery. It may have 5 years ago. It is not going to do it now. I think there is a place for social, but I think that we need to be very strategic about it. And you could say, you know, I post twice a day, I post 3 times a day. I would recommend start with like 2 or 3 posts a week that you just feel really good about. Something about an event, something about a new beer release, something about the community. You just gave back because there was a fundraiser, and you gave, you know, the proceeds or 10% of your beers to this fundraiser. Tell that story on social. Do not fill your social media with beautiful liquid shots. Like, that just doesn't get it done anymore, in our opinion. There are ways that you can game the system, but the algorithms are favoring the people who boost. And so if you're not boosting, you're really not going to be at the top of the list. And best we can tell, only 10% of your followers are getting your post. So does it make sense to have that part-time person posting every day? Please.
Boosting versus using like meta ads. Which, is there a preference? Should you be doing both?
It's a good question. The question is boosting a post versus using meta ads. There are opportunities to reach different audiences with those. And so from a boosted post perspective, you can designate the audience. The audience could be geographical. It could be people of a certain income level, people of a certain age, which we all have to be sensitive to. There are similar opportunities with the paid meta ads, but my understanding of the paid meta ads is they have more circulation, a broader circulation than just feed. And so, plus you have the opportunity to be on other meta properties like Instagram as well. So, not a clear answer. What I would do personally is I would A/B test between the two and see if you find any sort of measurable difference. But again, remember that the measurability of this is not always going to be in the likes and engagement. It's going to be in the traffic, which is so hard to tie back to real sales. Good question. Thank you. Yeah. Yep.
Do you think there's a optimal distribution between Reels, posts, and stories? Like, kind of like a ratio you should follow?
The question is, how would you optimize Reels, posts, and stories just from a timing perspective and maybe even a budget perspective? Good question. I don't know. I would speculate that the Reels are still probably the right way to go. Any sort of visual video content is still, again, if we were talking about 2 or 3 posts a week, I would make sure that at least one of those was a video and the other 2 would be engaging static posts. To the same question about boosting, if you were going to put any money against it, then I would put money against what you're doing in terms of video content, just because Meta and the other socials are favoring still the visual video content over anything static. So you're automatically going to be higher in visibility for those. I don't have a percentage that I would recommend. Maybe just one of the three. Make sure that's video. Good question. Okay. The only other point to bring up here is that for social media, again, if you've got that same scenario where the part-time person or the bartender is taking the social for you and posting, be sure that they're taking photos and sharing with permission. The last thing that you want to do is to get a great photo of a group that came in and they're enjoying themselves, and all of a sudden it's on socials the next day and they're like, wait a minute, that was my work party and it looks like I'm enjoying myself a little too much and now everybody sees it. Like, you just don't want that legal hassle. It comes back. When I was at Sierra, boy, there was somebody who went to one of our beer camp events, and we thought that we had permission to have this photo, and it was a fairly innocuous photo, and they came back at us big saying, yeah, I didn't give you permission to use that photo. When you're Sierra Nevada, they start talking about, well, what are you going to do for me? Some of the smaller breweries don't have to worry about this, but they could. If you've heard of this platform before, Sprout Social, we're bullish on Sprout Social because we're looking for efficiencies. And if I'm talking about 5 different platforms, I don't want to spend time formatting for each one of the platforms and monitoring and the reporting and what do I learn from that. Sprout Social is one platform, all socials. It's consolidated reporting. It has insights. You can add competitors to it to see what the competitors are doing. And I say competitors, we're all friends, but the breweries down the street might have a little bit of an edge on you because they're doing a little more socially. What can you learn from that? What can you bring back to your brewery? So the more we're using tools like this and not just posting and praying, the more we're being strategic and we're learning and we're growing. Because this could be your setup where you've got a whole week's worth of posts that are scheduled out, and you do it once and then you let it go for the week. It's worth remembering, to Steve's question before, the different platforms and the different avenues for your social posts and videos and such. And the numbers that we see still favor YouTube and Instagram. You don't see TikTok on that. There are a number of challenges with TikTok right now. I know it's still very popular, but TikTok from a volume perspective isn't on that list, but video content across all is. And we like a mashup. We call it that just because you've got lines that are blurring across all these different digital properties that we talked about. And there's a tool called Smash Balloon, weird name, but it allows you to pull your social feed into your website. And if you haven't done that already, it's very straightforward, but just think about what that does. I don't update my brewery website every day, but I might have social that happens 2 or 3 times a week. If it's pulling in the social, then you've automatically got an updated homepage because there's new social content pulled directly. So think about this. Think about, again, the efficiencies and where you can pull content that exists elsewhere into the website to benefit you. You've been probably propositioned in this way by an influencer, and the influencers are real. Some are credible, more credible than others. There are case studies about influencers making tens of millions of dollars off of big brands and benefiting those brands in terms of sales. So influencers are part of our future of marketing. There's no doubt about it. Is it a part of the future of your marketing is the question. And you might have somebody come up and say, hey, you know what, Jim, I can promote your brand. I will do 5 social posts for you, 5 social posts for you a week. And what this is going to do is bring traffic in the door because I've got 10,000 followers. They're geographically located. that may very well move the needle, but what I would recommend to you is if you get solicited by an influencer, check to see what their followers look like. And if they're in 2 states over, that's not really going to benefit your local brewery. If they're saying, I'll do 5 posts for you a week, well, what do those posts look like? And to the question we had before, is it a mix of visual, video? How can they be real time talking about your events and your beer releases? What they're posting is more in self-interest of themselves and not necessarily your brewery. So step into this with caution if you get solicited. All right, we're in the home stretch. Sorry about that. Activating with an app. Now, this is a neat opportunity. We're bullish on an app called Tapwise, if you've heard of this. Yesterday, I think Ross presented, good guy. They've got a good model for this. We like it because, again, it's a direct connection to your pocket and the opportunity to message in real time a call to action like tonight only, or call to action like event happening this weekend, get tickets here. There's no SMS charge. It's completely customizable to your brewery. It has good numbers compared to some of the others that we've been talking about with the socials and such. Again, in combination with email and a really good website that's mobilely optimized, having a mobile app is a really solid plan. So if you haven't looked at this, it integrates with your point of sale system pretty seamlessly. You only have to set up redemption buttons, very similar to what you do with BOGOs and such right now. And then no more paper cards. So give them a try, take a look, definitely worth your time. There are a bunch of different options. When you think about it, the cost, there is an upfront cost, but what you can do is you can secure predictable sales with subscriptions and digitized mug clubs. So if you haven't already factored mug clubs and subscription models into your thinking, it's worth doing. Think about a year program that might cost $20 or $30 a month for your loyalists. They get a benefit either in a reduced price or a free or a merchandise piece. You have the predictability at the start of the year for 12 months worth of spend across 50 people. Those start to add up to real numbers, and also pays for itself really, really quickly. So if you haven't already, maybe give them a look. And you also have a lot of analytics available to you. Now, as far as the AI is concerned, I know that people are very interested in this topic, but we like to say that AI is a tool, not a strategy. A lot of business folks outside of breweries, they would say, oh yeah, we're going to reduce our headcount, we're going to be able to automate this with AI. There's truth there, and we're all kind of wrestling with what AI is going to mean for us personally as well as for our businesses. Right now, it's Wild West. It's all happening in real time. We would suggest be careful, be judicious on how you use it, know what you're adding. If you're in a free account for ChatGPT and you just uploaded 10 years worth of financials in order to spot the trends by geography, that might be out there for people now, right? If you don't have your privacy settings, if you don't have the settings on what you do to teach the model for others set properly, let's just be careful. Be careful of how you use it. We're bullish on, how many times have I said that? We're excited. We're excited about AI because it streamlines otherwise very monotonous tasks. From a marketing perspective, you know that you want to send out 2 or 3 posts this week, but you're tapped out. You have no idea what to post. Well, give AI a prompt and it'll come back with 2 or 3 different variations. You tweak that, you assign a photo to it. Appreciate you, Steve. So a number of different tools that we can use. Let's start right here. For what it's worth, the folks at someplace else right here in Arvada, if you didn't know, they're opening up 2 new locations. So kudos to them. They're showing how craft can work. They also used AI to integrate all of these different platforms that they have. They have pinball maps, they've got draft beer lists, they've got event calendars and such. So they used it very judiciously to pull all of that information in. Bunch of different services that you can explore. Again, this will be in the doc that you have available to you. We like the chat GPTs. Chatbase is a tool that allows for a real-time agent on your website, and if you haven't already seen it, our friends at Propagate use that. And so if you're like, oh, I mean, what yeast? I'm thinking about something. I'll give Propagate, the information, and all of a sudden Propagate comes back with, oh yeah, here's the perfect yeast for that saison that you're looking to brew, and here are the different characteristics that you should expect. Last couple slides. Please use reporting. With your team, they need to know how your brewery is doing from a financial perspective, but also take a look at how marketing is doing for your brewery. Help educate and level up your team so that they can be ambassadors and marketers for you. And this kind of dashboard reporting is pretty straightforward to do. Google Liquor Studio, not to be geeky about it, but this is free. If you want to integrate your point of sale system, you want to pull in your Facebook and other socials, if you want to take a look at all of your email, you can put that in one dashboard, have it sent to your email on Friday, and talk about it in your team meeting an hour later. Think about how valuable that is to your team to see that kind of information. And it, again, keeps you thinking a little more strategically about the growth of your business. All of this to say that you always have to have a quality product. Have some events that draw people in, a little different than the normal bingos. Take a look at public relations like we talked about in the very beginning. Give them a stellar tasting room experience, and then please be sure to make budget line item for marketing. So we've got a bunch of guides online. You can have them for free. The code there lets you download any of our guides, and there are a bunch there for social and digital and best practices on all sorts of marketing for your brewery, and we just hope that we can help. Thank you for giving us the time today. Very excited. Any questions in the time that we have left that we didn't cover in the, yeah.
Could you just go back one slide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as the Wi-Fi code.
Is this on your?
It is, yeah. So the keg collar, if you if you scan the QR code, you'll go directly to a page that has resources and links, and the website has, again, the guides that are available for download that you can use that code for. Anything else?
Going back to MailChimp, I've tried to do a text campaign with them before, and first of all, they charge you in blocks, and then none of the credits roll over, and they charge you for sends, but not for receives. So I've had 40% blocked. I think it came down to basically everyone that had AT&T. Is there a way to get around that, or?
Yeah, the question was about MailChimp and SMS services that they offer, not only being pricey, but when you run into a block, how do you deal with that? The question is real about the block at the service provider level, and oftentimes AT&T or Verizon, they have on the website, they have a tool that you can use in order to submit a review for review of your of your emails or your text messages if they're not going through. So be sure to look for that. That'll help with at least the service provider block. As far as, again, the spend, unless you folks feel that you're getting good response from the SMS messaging, I might look at your point of sale provider first. Arrived and Toast and such, they're offering SMS services now as a part of their core package, and that might be a little less expensive than if you were to do it through MailChimp. Also, you know, all the folks that you have probably in MailChimp are also in point of sale, I'm guessing too, so it might be a little easier and more efficient to use the point of sale. We don't send out a lot of SMS messages. We're looking more at either email or the mobile app.
Can you import your contacts into Toast or Brewville or anything like
Yeah,
that?
if you're using their loyalty services, you can, for sure.
Cool.
Good question. Anybody else? Are we good? Please let us know if there's anything we can ever do to support you. We're bullish and we're fans of Denver. We live in Golden, so happy to help. Thank you for having me.